Angry guy here, and the passport bros just caused the Philippines economy to experience massive growth. The passport bros just caused the Philippines economy to experience massive growth. Guys, I've been warning you about this. I told you that the passport kings would begin to build empires around the world, and this is not a game. I am not exaggerating. Let's jump right into the video.
In other business news, the Philippines became Southeast Asia's fastest growing economy last year, overtaking Vietnam and Malaysia. Three big factors helped the economy top the growth chart, which are consumption, services, and investment. GDP expanded 5.6%, surpassing the Bloomberg estimate of 5.5%. The economy grew at a similar pace from a year ago in the last 3 months of 2023. Meanwhile, Filipino stocks rose 1% after the data was released, while the peso merely slipped 0.1% against the dollar. While the annual pace of expansion was slower than the government's 6% to 7% target, it was the fastest pace in the region. The country overtook Vietnam's 5.05% growth rate last year. Malaysia's economy, which posted Southeast Asia's quickest growth in 2022 at 8.7%. It likely slowed to 3.8% in 2023. Moreover, the Philippines government is confident that the economy will expand at a pace of 6.5% to 7.5% in 2024. The Philippines' consumption-driven economy got a boost from cooling inflation and pause in the rate hike cycle. Consumption accounts for about 75% of the Southeast Asian nation's GDP. However, several factors continue to impact the country's consumption economy. They include tense ties with China over the South China Sea, sluggish global economy, elevated inflation, and also rates.
So, guys, as you can see, a big part of this is due to investment. Why is there so much money now flowing into the Philippines, considering that nothing has changed significantly about the population other than one factor, the passport kings. There are so many men now moving to the Philippines. They are starting businesses in the Philippines. They are bringing their money to the Philippines. They're investing their money in the Philippines. They're building the houses in the Philippines. They're marrying Filipinas, and those Filipinas are putting all of that money back into the economy. Filipinas, the center of their life is their family. So a lot of the money that they are getting from those passport kings, they're taking that money and they're also using some of that money to help their families. They're helping their families by sending their brothers, their sisters to school, improving the life of their parents. All of this is driving growth in the Philippines. That money is being sucked out of the United States and taken away from the American woman, because that's money, let's be very clear, that would have been going to American women and the American economy. Instead, that is going to the Filipino economy. Americans like their fast food. So of course, I have MK Fitness on the channel pretty often. And one thing he talks about is the fact that he eats so damn well. Like, bro, $10. What he spends, $10 in the Philippines for him is like $40 for me, 40 to $60 for me in the US. And it pisses me off, but it's just the reality of it. And you look at what's happening over there right now, this is only going to continue rising. The Philippines, the government in the Philippines, they have to be very careful. They have to be careful what laws they pass. They have to be careful how the divorce laws they're passing go, because if Americans don't feel comfortable or safe anymore, they'll leave the country. They will walk away from the country if the country does not work for them. This is a great big world, and other countries will take note. This, and some, don't get greedy. Do not get greedy. And the reason why men are going over there is because you have to remember that a lot of these American men, and I hate to say it this way, are taking the women in the Philippines that a lot of Filipino men don't actually want. I'm just being honest with you. For example, men are less judgmental in Western society than men from Southeast Asia are. A lot of these women who grew up, let's say, in a piggery, and when they met her, she was living in a piggery. She doesn't even have a high school education, and most men don't care about that from Western society. As long as she's fit, feminine, friendly, she was raised to be a wife and a mother. She's agreeable. These are the only things a man actually cares about, and he's much happier with a woman who has these traits than a woman who has an advanced education in feminism, and doesn't need a man and is Miss Independent. So a guy from Western society will happily get into a relationship with a woman like this and look at her on the surface value. He's also going to do more. He's likely going to contribute more to the housework, rearing of the children, than the average Filipino man would. And that's just the reality of it. These men are going over to the Philippines. It's not just the Philippines, it's Thailand, it's other countries, but especially the Philippines. And they are bringing a lot of their money over there and they're investing it into the country. And that's massive. That is absolutely massive. And right now Thailand basically started saying they wanted to start taxing the earnings of men, like foreigners in the country that stay in the country for more than like 180 days. I forget if it was 90 days or 180 days. Like they want to tax their global earnings. And the thing is, like, if they start really doing this, then it'll create serious problems, because then you'll just have men leaving the country. But that's the reality of it. Like I told you, men were going to be going overseas. Passport kings were going to be going overseas and building their empires overseas, and it was going to be extremely phenomenal. And women in Western society, they've caused this. They're not fit, they're not feminine, they're not friendly. They cover themselves in makeup. Their skin is looking terrible because of all the chemicals they're using. They're not taking proper care of themselves. They eat takeout every day. They want a guy who could pay for their DoorDash every day, so they don't have to do anything. They don't know how to cook or clean, and they've been conditioned by society, by their parents, that cooking and cleaning is work for servants. So these women cannot even take proper care of themselves. And I talk about Gen Z women right now. Gen Z women are passing away much faster than Gen Z men, than men in general. It's absolutely insane. Young women, so young millennial women, the youngest of the millennials, and just Gen Z in general Gen Z women in general are passing away faster than all other generations of women, and that should tell you just how serious it is. So the women that men that would be looking towards, they don't have, they're looking older as well. Like, for example, the whole thing that's been going on where people are saying, why does Gen Z look so old, and why do millennials and Gen X look so young? But a lot of it has to do with the food that they eat. There's this guy Jordan, and a lot of this came from him when people were like, "Why does Jordan look so old?" Jordan is constantly giving out tips on fast food. So what does this tell you? This tells you that Jordan has eaten a lot of fast food in his day. In his day, I mean, he's worked at a lot of different fast food places, but he's eaten a lot of fast food. He eats a lot of junk. Like, this guy very rarely tells us about how to make a healthy meal with with stuff of, just, let's say, like steak that's broiled, and cabbage or spinach. Like, that's my usual meal when I'm able to avoid fast food. I typically don't mess around with any with too many carbohydrates, and it's just literally cabbage for me. Steamed cabbage, steamed cabbage, steamed spinach with a little bit of butter, a little bit of salted butter, and broiled steak for me. That's usually my meal. But Gen Z, they eat Chick-fil-A every day, they eat McDonald's every day. Then there's the vaping, then there's the pot. I mean, it's really bad. It's really bad living, man. And it's no wonder these people are passing away at these rates. And then you look at the Philippines, and they don't these people a lot of these women, they don't have that kind of money, and they don't need that kind of makeup. Makeup makes you old. This is another thing that Gen Z doesn't understand. Makeup ages you rapidly. And you can see this where you go overseas, and you're shocked to discover, like, some of the most beautiful women overseas are not wearing a shred of makeup because they don't need it. Like, the idea that a woman does not need makeup to look pretty is crazy. She can still look feminine and extremely attractive without makeup. And you're like, how is this even possible? And that's because of the garbage that women in Western society are putting into their bodies and on their bodies, like the cosmetics and the food. It's just absolutely terrible. And I've already said this before. I said Gen Z isn't going to see 50. They're not going to be with us that long. And I was absolutely right. These people are not going to be around that long. But regardless of that, the economy in the Philippines is growing rapidly. And that's just one of many. Because as passport kings begin to expand to different countries and branch out more, you're going to see them building empires in Africa. You see them building more empires in different countries in Southeast Asia. And here's the thing, it's going to change the culture as well. For example, if women in Vietnam want these men, then they're going to have to do whatever it takes to get these men. They're going to have to say, okay, so what's the Philippines doing right? What are the women in the Philippines doing right? Okay, well, then we need to learn and emulate what they're doing in the Philippines. What's going on in Colombia? These brothers are getting deleted in Colombia, yet they're still going there. So something has to be going on in Colombia. Basically, we're the boss. We are the boss. So women have to basically adapt to us. Like if they're selling something and we don't want what they're selling, then forget about it. Absolutely forget about it. I mean, they cannot have it both ways. Men, we are the boss and we make the decision. We decide whether or not we want to share our value with us. But in return, what value will you create in our life? For example, we're the employer. What value will you create in the company? When I come to you, I'm telling you right off the bat, I have a paycheck. So I have the money. I have the resources. I have what you're looking for. I can keep you afloat. But what do you bring to me? What are you going to provide for me? How do you help me? What value you're going to create for my business? How you're going to, and what extra can you do? How do you stand out from the other candidate? And that's really how it is. Guys, if you're enjoying this content, help get the channel to 100,000 subscribers on our journey to 2 million by subscribing to the channel if you already haven't, liking this video and turning on notifications to never miss another video ever again. The passport bros just caused the Philippines economy to experience massive growth. What do you guys think about this? Are you shocked? I want to hear your thoughts, so let's talk about them in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA Men walking away. And cheers.